every time.
Right?
Yes. Is anybody else supposed to be getting on tonight?
No. I don't think so.
Where's Lexi being?
Tell them to talk.
I think that, I don't know, she texted me a couple weeks ago saying that she was doing good again. Like, she was just having, like, an emotional hard time with her family.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Alright. Make sure you can hear yourself on YouTube or option.
Yeah, so I definitely, yeah, because I try to keep in touch with everybody, but I think that life just has gotten busy, and a lot of people got personal stuff going on, so, I don't know.
Man, that's like atmospheric or something. Everybody's got crap going on.
Yeah, you know, but, you know, the topic is tonight giving back, you know, like giving back to the recovered community, giving back to yourself, right, and doing things along those lines, so, yeah, I think that it's a process to figure out what can fit on your schedule. I jumped into the, like, mind meetings with no problem, you know, so, yeah, I think that you guys want to start? I mean, I kind of already started, so. I'm Olivia. Welcome back to Choosing Recovery. We're going to have everybody introduce themselves. So, Leanne, if you want to go ahead and start.
I'm Leanne. My phone's being crazy. I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict, and I'm from Tennessee.
Glad you're here, Leanne. Let's go, Toop.
I'm Tiffany. I'm a recovering addict and alcoholic, and I'm from Alabama.
Awesome. So, yeah, tonight's topic is giving back. So, does anybody have anything to think of at the top of their head? Leanne, didn't you just say that you started a Zoom meeting with all the girls from your rehab?
Yeah. So, I started just a Zoom meeting, like a recovery chat.
Yeah.
You know, that was a huge part of my sobriety. Was I was volunteering at the treatment facility that I went through, Buffalo Valley, and I would go down there and cook and talk with the girls, and so they still would, like, you know, ask me for my experience, strength, and hope. So I felt like I was just called to do that, and I've also tried getting them to, you know, come with you, but it gets me outside of myself. It makes me, you know what I mean? It makes me feel, I know how I felt when I was in active addiction. I didn't have anybody, you know, and there were people who showed me how to do it, you know what I mean? And that's what we're supposed to do, is give back, you know, carry the message.
And that's awesome that you decided to group that together with people in your rehab. I, to this day, still think very much about the people that I've crossed paths with in my rehab. So I think that's pretty incredible to be able to, because it is all about community, right? And the great thing about the community is you can go absolutely anywhere in this world, and there's people that are in recovery as well, and you'll be able to run into them, and they can share a little bit of their experience, strength, and hope with you. And that's the beauty of the programs and being in recovery, is it's absolutely everywhere. And giving back means that it's everywhere, just for that, because giving back, everybody's working that part. And I give props to people that are over, like, 30 years sober and still show up to the home group, you know what I mean? Because, you know, their experience, strength, and hope, they share it, but they continue to go to share that, you know, for the next person that walks in the door and relates to their story. You know, they didn't just stop one day saying, hey, I'm done with meetings, you know, I'm all fixed, I'm all good and ready, or, you know, I've worked the steps multiple times and I'm good, or I finally got it right, or whatever. They're always pursuing in the growth of bettering themselves, you know.
Well, I think we have to do that. because, you know, that's what we were talking about last week. If you don't grow, you're just sitting still. And part of growing is
Yes.
having action behind it, you know. And like me lately, my job is a lot. Like I find myself giving myself of service more. Sometimes I do it too much and neglect my own recovery, because there is a fine line that you have to do where you can't give somebody something you don't have. And if you get so wrapped up in the actual act of it and neglect yourself, you're not doing yourself any good anyway. You can't do that at the expense of your own sobriety. But what I've been doing is, and it doesn't feel like much to me, but if it can help one person, then it's worth it. I've been telling my story on TikTok in parts, and that's been a little intimidating for me, because like when I started, I was like, oh, I've done this a million times, it's fine, it's whatever, and then I'm like getting all in my feelings about it, you know. So like, even when you're giving of yourself, you're learning from yourself sometimes. Stuff you need to work on, stuff that, you know, you might not have thought about in a while, that gets triggered by something or somebody. But I love that I can do it with my job, because with me drug testing clients that are with DHR and stuff, like I get to be around people that are in the middle of climbing up from some of their rock bottoms, you know, and it brings me right back to, okay, that could be you, number one, and number two, like, what would have benefited you? What can you do to benefit them in this stage of their recovery? Like, what would you have wanted?
That's a really good question to ask. And I think it's important too to know that, you know, I'm very hard on myself, so I always think that I can be doing more in my entire life. But I think a huge part of giving back is just showing up. You know, just show up. I think there's so many times that I've gone to meetings in my early recovery, in my recent recovery, that I just don't want to go to a meeting. You know, like I just don't want to sit down and do our women's podcast. You know, I'm human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But those are the things that showing up, and just like someone in my home group always says, the most spiritual thing you can do is just show up when you say you're going to show up. That's it. Like, that's the bare minimum. That's the most spiritual thing you can do, is show up when you say you're going to be there. And I think that is giving back. Especially sometimes because you can get so caught up in life, man. You know, I think recovery is a beautiful thing to have. And I just feel like that life can get hectic and crazy. And to be able to just continue through your recovery of giving back, right? Like showing up to the meeting with no matter how much time you have, you know, no matter how many times you work steps, or if you continue to work them and things like that. So I think even just doing that is a wonderful thing, because it's getting you, like you said, Leanne, it gets you out of yourself. And I think it's important to do things you don't want to do until you want to do them. Right? And I never realized, when I first heard that, I was like, I'm eventually going to want to go to meetings. And I did. You know, I would show up early, I did the coffee, set up the tables, got the literature out, I ran the meeting, I did all those things. And then as time happened and life happened, just getting back there and doing those things is still me giving back, because it's getting me to the point where I have to allow myself to go and do something for either somebody else, or to push myself to where, you know, like our comfort zone, right? But that's a whole nother topic. I'm going all over the place.
You know, I like what Tiffany said, though, about it, that there's a fine line. You know, it's that balance, because it is real easy. So it gets you outside of yourself, and then I also feel like it can get to where you give back so much that you are not focusing on yourself. I don't know if that makes sense, but
spot on.
it's kind of, you know,
I mean,
like,
we're addicts. We can overdo anything.
Yeah.
more. You know?
Yeah. And then before you realize that you're burnt out, and I mean, either way you go, I guess, you know, but
that's, you know, I was volunteering down there, and I was at a point, you know, where they couldn't pay me, but I felt like it fulfilled me and gave me purpose, and I was helping other people. But in my personal life, I felt like I was stagnant, you know. I felt like I wasn't growing, so I had to like back up a little and focus more on myself. And so that's why I do the little things, like it might not seem like a lot, but the Bible,
exactly.
you know, and just the, you know, the little like recovery chat I'm trying to do, you know. So it's, I agree with you, Tiffany. It's like that's the timeline, you know, and it's, I was talking with one of the ladies today, and she said, she's a sex trafficking victim, and she's really had it, but I've seen her come in, you know, just so broken. And like she said today, it's showing somebody else that didn't know, maybe they grew up in addiction or sex trafficking their whole life, didn't know there was another way to live. And so sometimes it's just by living by example, you can show others the way out.
Yes, I love that. That's so powerful.
And it's true too. Like I always find myself getting these big ideas, and then I'm like, "Whoa, Tiff, how are you gonna do that?" Like I always tend to bite off more than I can chew because I have all these great ideas, but the logistics get me in trouble. So I end up staying more busy trying to fix it to where the way I want it. But that just goes back to show you that's that control character defect, all that good stuff. You know, it's never perfect. Even when you're giving back, it's never perfect. You might screw up on accident. You might say the wrong thing, but if your heart's in the right place, that's all that matters.
Exactly. I love that.
Because I know people that have gotten discouraged, like, okay, well, I messed up and I said the wrong thing to this person, and I did, you know, it didn't help them or whatever. Well, one person doesn't define what you know that you're supposed to do to help yourself stay sober and help other people understand that there's another way to live. Don't get discouraged about it if you've had a bad experience.
And obviously their intentions were heart-filled, right? Like we would never go out of our way to harm someone. And I think that with that step, there was like a childhood friend of mine that I wanted to apologize, you know, like it was just, it's a messy situation, but I wanted to apologize to her, and I spoke to my sponsor about it, and she said, Olivia, you didn't know any better, right? Like, you were a kid. And I was like, wow, I guess I didn't see it from, like, that perspective, you know what I mean? And she's like, don't hurt her. She probably doesn't even think about that, you know? And she's like, and if you did, like, say something to her, it might bring up triggering memories or something. And I was just like, oh, well, you know, I wish I could have, you know, like, said sorry or something. She's like, Olivia, you were a kid. And I was like, well, yeah. She goes, you wouldn't have done it as an adult. Like, you didn't know. You did what you were taught. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay. You know, like, sponsors, like, it's so funny because, like, when you're an addict, right, you have tunnel vision. All you see is this.
Yeah, they get the whole
but then they go like this, and you're like, oh. Interesting.
See, I get myself in trouble every time.
Yeah.
I have to have sounding boards. And I have to have multiple sounding boards. Like, because sometimes, even if we don't realize we're doing it, we'll call people with a question knowing what answer we want them to tell us. And until we get that answer, we're not happy sometimes.
Right.
You know? So I need people, like, being able to tell me, hey, look, this is crazy. We need to reel it back in. You know, we have to do that a lot.
Yeah. And I think it's cool, too, because, like, if you, like, everything, like, in recovery, right? If you look at it, there's like a meaning for it of like what it is, like giving back, right? It's like giving back to a recovery community. But if you expand past that, you can now give back to people that you don't know that may be struggling with a loved one of an addict, or they may be struggling alone with addiction. And you just living your life and leading by example and giving back to just life in general it really affects people like that. You know what I mean? It's incredible to be able to go out past that. I've done that to where I've always been very open with sharing my experience with people. And that has opened so many doors with strangers saying, oh yeah, I lost my daughter 10 years ago, or, you know, I've been sober for 2 years, or 15 years, or 27, and I'm like, what? Like, a stranger you're passing by, you know, you're like, hey, how are you, you know, and then all of a sudden it gets to that, and it's like, that's cool, you know, like, you probably just made somebody's day, just being honest and being open and giving back to just life in general.
Well, you also never know how far what you do is going to reach. Like, I'm sure you never thought when you started telling your story or started a YouTube channel that it would end up being something like this and being on the news and stuff, you know?
No, never. Right? What the heck?
New Jersey? Like, what? I love this. It's through TikTok and it's crazy. Like, I love it. I love my recovery girl group. Like, I love it. And it's brought so much joy to my life. It really has. And that's because you decided to share your story and stuff. And, like, that really kind of inspired me to do it. I've done it, like, on Facebook Live just with people that I know or whatever, but I've never done it on a broad scale before. But, you know, what you were talking about having a spouse addiction, that's one of the big reasons that I do share my story is because I was a mess when I was like, in early recovery. And Chris was still using, and it was just blowing up. It was getting to where, like, he was, you know, he was on meth, and he was going crazy and wild and stuff, and my whole life had just exploded. So, you know, I want to be able to share that with somebody so they know, okay, it's not just me. Because there's not a lot of resources and a lot of stuff for spouses of addicts or parents of adult addicts.
Exactly.
So, like, I'm trying to put that out there. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
To be honest, when I saw the door open, I'm sitting here in my room and I have a door over here. So when your door opened, I thought it was a reflection or something. And I was tripping. How am I tripping? I was like, what? What the heck?
Dude, we don't do that anymore.
What? My brain, like, literally, I was like, wait, why is it moving right there?
You're just feeling real snacky, Mom.
Yeah. Always. Hey, man, I have to home.
Did any of y'all have, like, a problem? Like, well, you talk about hunger, but I have a problem. So my sponsor said I was ready to sponsor, right? But I'm scared to death because, like y'all were saying, I'm like, this is somebody's life. You know, I'm screwed up enough. What if I do more harm than help? Did y'all ever have that?
Yeah. Who am I to tell somebody else? But I have the book. That's all you gotta have. I mean, you know, like, and if you don't know the answer, ask somebody that you think does.
Yeah.
Like,
so
they know you're human.
Yeah.
You know?
So I definitely, I sponsored two girls, and they both went out and used after a certain amount of time. I started doing and that's, I don't know, I'm not gonna, like, push anybody to work any program that they don't want to work, right? So these people were in a 12-step program, and they would work the steps that they wanted to work. I was trying to work it the way that my sponsor showed me how to work it. That's the way that I worked it. I was going to do that same exact way with them, right? Because obviously it worked for me. And then when we were going through it, they wanted to do they wanted to go about it differently. And I just kind of was like, okay, whatever. And I stepped off, and I was just, you know, kind of like sharing my experience with them. You know, and eventually they went back out and used. I don't know, I think that's wonderful. You know, like, that's a huge accomplishment to be like, hey, I'm ready to sponsor. That just shows how much work you've done on yourself. And then the great thing is somebody from outside of you, like your sponsor, is recognizing that. That's a wonderful thing. I would not be scared. Just know that anything that happens is not on you. I think that's something that struggled with me because I wish it was black and white. I wish that I could show you how I work the steps and how I wish I could do that, but it really doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. So that's why I try to allow them to kind of figure out a way that worked for them. And eventually one just went back out and stopped talking to me, and the other one was lying to me, and I'm just like, I don't live chaotically, so I left her as a sponsor. But yeah, I think that that's a great thing, if you're ready for it. I think you should be proud of that, girl. You've come so far, and you've worked your ass off. I don't think you should be scared of what other people make decisions for themselves, right? And we can only lead by example. So I think that's awesome.
Well, and we're always harder on ourselves than anybody else anyway. So if your sponsor that, has took you through all of this and knows all of your junk, like if
all
she
of it.
knows you,
Yes.
like she knows all of the stuff and she says you're ready. And I always take that as a huge compliment because she sees past what you see as an insecurity.
Yeah. Or maybe I'm just scared, like, I know what I put her through. I'm like, oh Lord, don't want to do that. But I do.
Yeah, there's also that.
But just like, and what Tiffany said about like the whole line crossing thing, I think that's really important, especially in sponsorship, to know that you have no control, and especially like what we tell family members, you have no control of the other person. You can literally, like, you are nothing right now. Like, it's literally all on that person of how far they want to go or how hard they're willing to work for it. But the thin line, don't run yourself out on it. Yeah, I think that I got caught up with my second sponsee because I was trying to fix her. Honestly, it was really hard for me. I was like sitting through therapy and like talking to my sponsor about it too, but it hit me hard with my mom. And I was like having flashbacks to my mom, and I was trying to fix this girl, but she resembled my mother, so it was like, it's one of those things. But, yeah, so I was hurting myself in it, and it became very chaotic, and I had to step away from that, so. But yeah, I think it's great. Exciting. But that's about giving back and just figuring out, just like Tiff said earlier, the lines. Across the lines. Do you guys have anything else you want to share for giving back, or?
I think that's all I got tonight. Believe it or not.
I know, right? Yeah, well, if you guys want to wrap it up for the night, I think that will be okay. I gotta actually get the schedule coming up for this month. But if you girls know anybody that wants to jump on the podcast and share their experience, strength, and hope, and come up with topics, we're about to, I got a schedule coming out, but like me and Tiff have spoke, we're going to be doing, Leanne, you heard about it.
It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing like the book club. We're gonna be doing like the self-care videos and topics and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna like reach out to everybody and get that done. So
I'm down.
Yeah, let
I'm
me
down
know.
for everything.
Well, if you guys know anybody, let them know to at least come and check it out, watch it if they are interested, and reach
I'm
out.
gonna make a TikTok video about it and see if there's anybody that would be interested.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
I mean,
Awesome.
that's how I ended up here, so
That's how I ended up here.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so I'll do another one, but I'm going to keep everybody in touch. And you can, of course, invite people right to the Facebook groups, too. So I saw that a couple people did that. So, yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
sounds good.
All right, ladies, I will keep in touch. Thank you so much for getting on with us tonight.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
But